right. So I'm here today with the owner and co-owner and founder of Roche Wines. And this is Beyond the Wine, a conversation about winery success strategies. And I'm here with Penelope Roche. And I am so excited, Penelope, to have this chat with you and to learn more about what you're doing at Roche and your background, which is extremely fascinating. You come from 6 generations of winemakers. 6 generations. We don't really hear that very commonly here in North America. So would you tell us a little bit about your winery and your background? What makes your winery unique?
Yeah, for sure. Then thank you for having me. We moved 9 years ago from Bordeaux, where I come from. And just to tell you a little bit about like where I come from, then I grew up in a vineyard named Château Les Carmes in Bordeaux, and I was in the vineyard every day with my dad. And yeah, I mean, my dad took after my grandfather because it was my mom's family, and my dad was a pharmacist. And he took some like analogy lesson to took after my grandfather, and he um, just became winemaker and like at Château Les Carmes in 1988. Then I arrived with my whole family with him and lived in the chateau over there. And I didn't really realize this is what I wanted to do until I was 16. Before that, I wanted to become a chef. But the more I was growing up and I was always outside, the more I didn't see myself stuck in the kitchen. Uh, then at 16, I went into boarding school, and I went into a boarding school which is in Sauternes, close to Chateau Yquem. Then I was next door to Chateau Yquem, and I learned how to make wine and how to. In France, there is a lot of small wineries. Then you need to be able to do everything from contability to marketing to making wine, how to grow vines, how to sell wine. Then it was a kind of program that I studied that for 7 years altogether. After that, I went traveling and I met my husband, Dylan. Then I went to make wine in New Zealand and Australia after I made wine in Spain. And then I met him in New Zealand. He learned winemaking in Burgundy. Then he worked at Anne-Françoise Gros, de Monty, like kind of famous names in Burgundy. And after that, he decided to make 2 vintages in 1 year, like myself. Then we met in New Zealand, totally randomly at the end of our trip. And he was planning on coming back to Burgundy, but I convinced him to come back to Bordeaux on the dark side. Because he was saying to me, Bordeaux, this is a place where winemaker make wine with a tie on and like so well dressed. And it was so funny to see the archetype, he had in mind about Bordeaux.
As a Canadian.
And as a Canadian, that's
Yeah.
right, who lived 6 years in Burgundy, then even harder to convince him. But he came with me, and we stayed.
Love is powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Exactly, like love can move mountain. And then after that, he came with me. I took after my dad. I ran the business for 6 years. And the beauty was that I was in charge of doing everything because it was 13 acres. And I traveled the world to sell the wine, which was even more amazing. And yeah, we sold the property because of family, like too many family, too many generation, in fact. And we sold it, which was really not an easy thing. But the good thing is we moved to Penticton in 2011.
2011 then. So, okay. And What are some of the biggest differences that you've noticed? You've lived in some of the most amazing wine regions of the entire world. Penelope, what distinguishes British Columbia for you? What are the big differences that you notice here?
The funny thing is, the first time we came here without knowing we will move here was in 2006, 2006, and because Dylan's family, my husband, they have a cabin in Vernon, close to Lake Country, on the lake, which is a really, really old cabin. But then he brought me there in '06, and it was in February. It was minus 20. Then, me coming from Bordeaux, where it's not this cold, never, and then there's super thick ice on the lake, freezing cold, and he showed me this place who I needed to picture in the summer, right? Then, but this was my first encounter with the Okanagan, but I already could feel something so beautiful. So I didn't know if I was in Italy or Switzerland, but yeah, definitely. I could never imagine that was existing in Canada. Like, I had no idea then. And when we arrived here to live, I mean, we didn't really, we knew this place, but we never lived here. Then everything was so different, but everything was so welcoming at the same time, right? And I think when you want to meet people, when you want to succeed, when you have a dream in mind, which was creating our own winery, and we arrived with that in mind, that was for sure. We had a goal, then we set our goals. We needed to find a vineyard, we needed to find a place to build a winery. Then everything took a long time, but you need to set goals, but not being like super attached to them, like open-minded, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think we met the right people. We just had a good star looking after us, but things are so possible here. The wine industry is quite new. Then people are coming from all over the world to make wine here because they see the potential. They see that it's an amazing place to grow grape. It's dry, then you have less disease to fight. The growing season is short, but it's intense. Then it's long enough to grow to ripen vines. And the 200 kilometers like valley shape make things possible. You can grow Riesling in Vernon and Cabernet Sauvignon in Los Ollos. Then, yeah, for me it was like everything that I love from a lot of country met in the Okanagan kind
That is amazing.
of thing.
You're really describing it like just this amazing destination that has the best of so many other areas, wine growing areas. So you've really found your right place, it sounds like.
I think so.
Yeah. And what about the people that you meet that come to your winery? How do you find, are there any differences that you've noticed in the way that the people interact with wine, or the way that the role that wine plays in the culture of Canadians that come to visit your winery?
Definitely. I mean, in France, wine is in the culture for so long. It's almost like drinking water. It's on every table. Everybody drink wine. Yeah, like, I mean, when you have 12, your parents just ask you if you want to taste wine, and
Mm-hmm.
we do the same with our kids. And that's the main difference. I mean, people, when we moved here, there's a lot of people who doesn't drink wine every day still, right? But like they love that so much. They're so curious about it, to learn, to and I mean, every Canadian come from another country, right? Then,
Yes.
and this is what's amazing with this country. It's like it's made by other countries and by other culture, then when in a normal day in the tasting room, we can meet, I don't know, like people coming from so many different origins and with so many different culture, then like it's this is really amazing. But um, what I really think is like people are really interested, and then they ask a lot of questions, and they begin to really really understand and like wine. Like we moved 9 years ago, we opened the winery door 3 years ago, and but I mean we make wine here. Our first batch of wine was in 2012. Then we are facing people for uh, quite a long time now, like 8 years almost. And the change in 8 years is incredible. Like
Oh, really?
it's so crazy. Like 8 years ago, we could feel, I mean, a lot of people move from pop, like soda drinks, to wine. Then they love really sweet wines, right? They are looking into a really sweet rosé, or like a sweet like this is a part of the demographic. It's not everybody, but we always have people coming and asking about which one is the sweetest wine. That
Oh,
like 8 years ago it was like that, and coming from Europe, we don't make any wine with
no,
sugar in it.
no.
Then that was kind of a concern, you know. Like our main question was like, do we make wine for people's taste, or do we stick with what we want to make?
Right,
Right?
yeah.
And that was super difficult to decide, because of course people have totally different tastes than in Europe, and we decided to stick with what we want to make as winemakers. And then, you know, we needed to face these kind of people who said which one is the sweetest wine. And then we explained, if you want to eat with a glass of wine, and if this wine is sweet, you cannot really enjoy your food and your wine, because, you know, like sugar will take power on all your senses, and you will not be able to enjoy what you do.
Hmm.
And you know, and now 8 years from that, we really see the difference. People arrive; they are more educated about wine. They know more what they want. They ask for a special wine. You know, like for example, they want like a dry Pinot Gris, or they want like a Bordeaux blend. 8 years ago, it was, you know, like different. People were more like unsure, and I think through the time, then they taste maybe way more wines, and they are more educated. Yeah.
And do you think the foodie culture has also evolved, and people how they because it seems to me that now, you know, we're in this lockdown, and people are doing, you know, cooking lessons online, and well, everything online. But have you found that people have evolved also in the way that they interface with food and the role that food plays in their lives? And you know, with also the evolution that people have had with the way that they've interacted with wine and become more educated around wine, would you say that those two have kind of gone together?
I think totally, like, because of what's happening is happening, everybody is online, and everybody is on his phone, on social media, on
Mhm.
and I think, you know, it's got a lot of bad part, but the good part of what's happening is exactly like you said. I think people got more education on things they didn't have time to,
Mm, yeah.
and their interest changed because of more time, I think. Then I'm sure, exactly like you said, people uh, are cooking way more. They're posting a lot of like cooking, food pictures, and wine, and I think thanks to the online tastings that a lot of people do, and wineries, and so I think definitely people will come back more educated about food. wine, food and wine pairing, different culture. I think so, totally, yeah.
Mhm. And you've been very active on social media as part of your adaptation, but also even before that, you've got a really vibrant YouTube channel. And so how much, has that evolved a lot lately, or have you always been very active with online tastings and your presence?
Um, Before COVID, we were already trying to do a lot of uh, like social media presence, but because nobody could come anymore, restaurants are closed, people cannot travel.
Mhm.
Then we were like, let's go to people because people can't come to us, and
Thank goodness. Thank goodness you did.
yeah, because and thank goodness for internet. Like, I mean, when these kind of things happened before all that, people were, yeah, like having no interaction with anyone. I mean, thinking about France where the post office, like everything was closed, you couldn't even send a letter.
Oh,
But yeah, thanks for that. And but yeah, we had the idea of let's just do a kind of an educational video program where we can teach people how things happen in a vineyard, uh, give them a tour of the cellar, just because people are curious. They want to see behind the curtains, right? They want to see the tanks. They want to see how, with what you make wine. They want to see your everyday life, and I think it's awesome. And my favorite part is to see people in front of me. Like, I mean, making wine, I love to see people's face when they really enjoy what we did, right? And
mhm.
having not be able to do that anymore, I mean, we feel super sad. Then we're like, let's make people happy again by just teaching them something they don't know. And it's working so well. Like, the response is unbelievable. Like, people are really, they're asking for more, they ask question. Now they're asking me to do cooking lesson
Oh, what a great
online,
idea.
which I was planning on, and the fact that they asked for that, it's so like like it's excellent. I love that. Then
Yes.
this is, and we just invest in we bought a microphone because we had some like technical difficulties and all that. Then we just bought a microphone, and actually this morning we did our first video in the vineyard. And Eliana, our colleague, and she's our ninja, she's the best. We have a lot of fun doing that. Then you know what, we're like, because at the beginning of the crisis we were so sad, so
Mm.
empty of any. It was really, really, yeah. I mean, like everybody, and doing that was the first thing that really give our motivation back. Like getting outside, putting video together, and trying to make people curious and happy again.
Oh, what a wonderful thing. And yeah, and I think, and especially it sounds like the hunger is there for your stories and to see what's happening at the winery and to know the winery is still there. And I think I totally agree with you that people are interested to see behind the scenes, to look, see what happens at the, because this is not something that, everyone knows about. And visiting the wine country is a special treat. And for some people, it's their lifetime dream to go wine touring and to actually be able to see what happens and the process behind it is really special. And yeah, that's fantastic. And so, when are you going to start your cooking adventure?
um, I'm actually, I have the dish in mind. I will tell you a funny story, but like, because of what's happening, um, then I'm taking care of the kids by myself, everything. And Dylan is working a lot, and I'm in the house a lot with the kids, and we take turns. And I
Mhm.
bought all the ingredients 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't make it happen.
Oh
And we just like made it for us. And because it's a setup, kids doesn't need, like, they cannot be around, otherwise I will not be able to do anything, and I need to make a batch in advance to show people how it like turned. Then, but we wanted to do that live, but I don't think it will happen. I think we'll just like film it, and we will just like post it not live, because otherwise it's impossible. But hopefully in the next weeks, 2 weeks, it will happen. But it will be something super simple, just an appetizer pair with the rosé, and that
Oh,
everybody can do, like super simple.
that sounds like it would be just the perfect choice because everyone is doing virtual happy hour. And how cool would it be to show up at your virtual happy hour with a French appetizer
Yeah.
with your rosé? And you don't want to tell us what the dish is, do you?
I will tell you a hint. There is a boursin involved.
Oh, oh my God. I love that. My favorite is the garlic and herb. That's my favorite flavor. But yeah, you can't go wrong with boursin.
Yeah,
Oh, wonderful. And how perfect with rosé. Well, almost everything's perfect with rosé.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So are there any adaptations that you've made for COVID that it sounds like the video is taking off. Are there other initiatives that you've launched in this reaction to COVID or lockdown that you want to continue to keep on, to carry on into the future?
Definitely, like the video was definitely one big like change we've made. We set up a website to boost online orders, obviously, like making things super simple. We try to did some already made themed packs to because people need to know how to do things, like for example, uh, we did just the spring release pack. We did like a vertical of Pinot Gris, and because people need to have things to share, and exactly like you say, there is a lot of happy hours and things that people could do without seeing each other. Then we try to do these kind of things. The online tastings as well, uh, and again, because everybody was and still on their phone and on social media, uh, we were super present in that. I think we'll keep these kind of things. Like, I mean, online tasting, if we can do that with people, but you reach so many more people in a way, right?
Yeah,
Then,
absolutely.
yeah, then I think we'll um, still basically do everything we did because of COVID, and but in a maybe lighter way. But and we love to hear from people, what they have to say and what they think. I think we'll just go with the flow, listen to them, and see what they want to know. Yeah.
Sounds like an amazing plan. I can't wait to see your cooking demos and your recipes. And I think you send a recipe when you mail out your wine, don't you? Do you have a recipe in there as well?
Yeah, like we for our wine club members, I put a recipe from my grandmother's actually.
Oh,
Then these are recipes that are in the family for forever, and we try to make it fun. The last one was visitandine cake. It's a cake that was invented by some sisters in a convent that used just egg white because they were using the yolk to stabilize their paints, like the
oh yeah,
paints.
yeah.
Then they needed to do something with the white, and they invent this cake, which is actually amazing. And then I thought I shared this recipe because it was my family favorite. Then yeah, I try to share a lot of cooking recipe that I love. Cooking is my other passion, and yeah, definitely we try to send a recipe for every wine club member shipment, and people like post pictures, they send that to us.
Oh,
They're so excited, like people like are crazy about that. But I think it's again to deliver them some solution, right? Some like fun things to do with the recipe, the manual, and
Mhm.
they love to do that. And I think it's awesome.
Well, and it's a precious, precious gift to share because, you can just go online and Google a cake recipe, but the cake recipe from your grandmother, from an antique tradition, I mean, that is a really rare, beautiful, generous gift. So I can imagine people would be excited to get that and send you pictures of it. And
Definitely.
you've given your wine club also a bit of exclusivity the way you've named it.
Exactly. Like we try to make them feel special because there is so many wine clubs, right?
Hmm.
And we want them to feel like they're part of our family. And actually, we want to keep it super yes, like cozy and really family oriented. Then
Hmm.
we try to find, we do special batch of wine for them, and they have special treatment when they come to see us, and they have special recipe. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So it's the Black Book. If anyone wants to be in the Black Book, that's the special wine club.
That's
Well,
right.
thank you, Penelope, so much for speaking with me today. It's been lovely to chat with you and hear about your amazing history and passion for wine and food too, because they go together. You can't really have one without the other.
That's
And
right.
yeah, yeah. And I wish you all the best. And with your homeschooling, with your children as well, in the
Yes.
meantime, while you're making wine and getting ready to open. So hopefully, you're opening the winery to visitors soon?
Yeah, we are just in the process of just putting everything together. And but the good thing is, I think because when we first opened, we were wondering, should we do by appointment only,
Mm.
because we really wanted to give people a good experience. And with what will happen, people will need to book appointments in places because it cannot be more than 6 people in the tasting room, right?
Right, yeah.
Then I think overall it will be a great thing because we will be able to spend more quality time with people instead of, being super busy in the tasting room when you have 35 people and there is
Mm.
one who just raised his hand at the end of it that you didn't see. Then people, I think people will get special treatment, and people will be more happy, and us as well, then there is good in what's happening.
Yeah, the way we're going to come out of it even better and stronger than before. So, yeah, I love the idea of a more personalized, mm, curated visit that will be planned for someone who you're going to be expecting. You'll know their name, you'll be able to welcome them by name when they arrive and know a little bit about them even before they get there. That's pretty exciting.
I think it is, and
Yeah.
we can also go to the vineyard showing them around. Like we'll try to do different tier of experience, like the just basic tasting, and a little bit longer talking more about wine and going into the vineyard as well, because people, as we say, they love to see behind the scene. Then we'll try to give them a tour of the cellar and the vineyard. This way they will get it all for sure.
Sounds amazing. Well, I'm going to be in the area as soon as possible, so I'll definitely come and find you.
I
Thank you
hope
very
so.
much for talking to me today,
Thank you
Penelope.
so
All
much.
the best.